Michael, welcome to Creator in Conversation. How are you today?
I'm good, Owen. Thanks a million for having me.
No worries at all. And it's been great to have this opportunity to speak with you because I suppose you had already taught here at TASQ. You did a couple of short courses for us, particularly to do with Framer, which everyone who's listening or watching, if you check out the TASQ website, you'll be able to see that was all designed by Michael with additional graphic design from Rory O'Shea. So our logos came from Rory, but the actual website was built by Michael and Framer itself. And when I was putting together the curriculum for Task Art, one of the things I really wanted to consider was portfolio, because in the 21st century, our main audience are comic book creators. So of course, they'll be bringing their A3 folders or tablets to conventions for people to swipe or look through.
Yeah.
But a lot is done networking online today. So with regards to making that connection and be able to find and all these terms, SEO, how to get on top of Google, what we should consider to add onto a website, what keeps it lean, what keeps it too heavy. So I suppose to begin with, let's scale back. We're going to talk all about these topics. But before we do, let's scale back and just talk about yourself, Michael, because you're the founder of Woolly Mammoth Design. So just tell us a little bit about that company.
I'm currently into my third year of Woolly Mammoth, so it kind of was born out of necessity more than anything because I was laid off at the end of 2022, and yeah, the job market was pretty tough, so it was kind of, you know, just make a decision whether I wanted to go out on my own or not, or whether I wanted to keep hunting for jobs. The opportunity came up just because I was laid off. I was on the dole, so I was able to do the back to work enterprise allowance scheme. So that kind of supported me for the first couple of months that the business was operating. And then the wings were clipped and I was out on my own. So thankfully I'm into my fourth year now, 3 years, and obviously started the fourth year. So it's kind of, yeah, it's building. Same as anything, it's not going to be an overnight thing, but it's slowly getting. I'm getting busier, and there's more services adding into the business as well. So that's great.
And
But
what do
yeah,
those services include?
so we do branding, which is your kind of the whole visual side of the businesses that we work with. So we have a couple of different clients across different industries like construction, healthcare, that kind of thing. We do web design, obviously. That's one of our main ones. We do printing as well. We do a few more kind of more technical services like UX, UI, user experience, user interface design. So we work with developers, creating apps and websites for different companies. We do design sprints as well, which is it's like a very focused 1 week kind of creative roadmap for if it's a product or if it's like A/B testing or anything like that. We usually run a week or 2 week sprint depending on the client's kind of preference.
Great.
Um, yeah, so it's kind of like an all rounder kind of service that we offer.
And so, what are the type of profile of clients that you reach? Because obviously, for me, I know I've been throwing some comic book related stuff towards you in the educational field, but
Yeah.
have you noticed, obviously, with Woolly Mammoth Design, was there a particular gap in the market? You noticed that people could be very, very talented and knowledgeable within the given field, but then when it
Mm.
comes to translating that, because the ecosystem for online, advertising, getting your name out there. It's insane. It's like a message in a bottle you're throwing out with a prayer and hopes it hits somewhere. Um,
Hopefully you get someone, yeah.
yeah, this is it. So,
Yeah.
so how have you found it? Have you found that you've been getting many different types of not just the one industry, but a mixture? And at what stage as well? Are you someone who are primarily dealing with startups, or have you getting many people coming to you who have been like, well, we've been around for a few years, but we need to update with the times?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mix. Like sometimes it could be like we done a local cafe that just opened there last year. So we done all their branding, all their signage, their printing, and we work with a couple of different like contractors as well. Like there's a guy I do a bit of work with Neil. He's a sign writer, so he's a traditional sign writer. So I got him in to do the signage for the cafe when it opened. And then yeah, there's like already well established businesses that might just need, a little bit more of a refresh, or they might just need us to take what they have and expand upon it. And then yeah, like a lot of it is just word of mouth referral. I'm terrible at networking and putting my face out there. Like this is the first I think thing like I've ever done like this. Um, but yeah, like a lot of it would just be like either a refresh or just someone starting out. And see why we offer what we offer is because a lot of the time you're either going to someone who's their specialization is just web design, and then you have to go elsewhere for like your business cards, or you have to go elsewhere for your logo done, or something to go on the side of a van or the side of a building. So we kind of thought, to make someone's life easier, you can just come to us for everything if you need it, or you can just come and get your website done, or a logo done up if that's all you needed. Um, because we also offer a pay as you grow service, so like people aren't going to need the whole whack straight off the bat. They might just need a couple of business cards, or they might just need a logo or something for their Instagram profile picture just to get them started, and that's okay. So, we try work like I've been working with you for 2 years now, I think at this stage.
Mm, yeah,
So you know yourself,
yeah.
it's fairly straightforward. You send me a text or an email, and we schedule a call, talk about what you need, and then go from there. And it's usually straightforward. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. We don't like using jargon or anything like that to try and confuse people. Because I don't really have like my background and my kind of segue into design was completely, different to a lot of people. I didn't go just straight into college doing design. Like I done a FETAC level 5, and then I was working on retail for a few years, and so I don't really have the jargon and the the right terminology half the time. But um, yeah, so that's basically the kind of customers we work are primarily just there could be a small little cafe down the road. It could be a big construction company with a couple of hundred employees. It depends really.
It's great though
So
that you
we're
have
lucky.
that scalability though, because like as a business owner myself, it's so much easier to know when you're dealing with one person, one group, that you can go,
Yeah,
okay, I want this now, and then go back to that same person. Because it's whenever I'm teaching, like some of the business modules I teach, it's like when you go to get how do you get a plumber? Like how do you get a dentist? It's usually you want a good one, and it's usually it's recommended by someone you know or someone you have a prior experience with. So that is,
exactly. Yeah.
so important. So let's dig into a little bit then of the actual like processes and like the rationale for why good design can elevate a business, and bad design can maybe lead like it be to its detriment. You mentioned about logos and such.
Yeah.
So many people listening in here would be preparing. We're now recording this in May, so before you know it, we'll be heading into the summer convention time. So a lot of people be looking to maybe get their pull-up banners done, get their business cards done, their leaflets. They might even be reaching out to yourself in that regard. We'll put the website and stuff up on today's episode. But for those who might be tabling at a convention for the first time, what might you say to them if they're considering doing that pull-up banner, doing that logo? What makes for what should they avoid when it comes towards logo design? What should they consider? And do you have any tips when it comes towards pull-up banners as well? Just in general, because for me, I'm always wondering. I see a lot of people put their contact at the bottom, but then when you're tabling, it's like, well, that's behind you, so no one's going to see
Yeah,
that
it's down the bottom. No
information.
one can
So
see it.
yeah, yeah. So what would be any of your insights? You're probably more knowledgeable than myself when it comes towards this composition.
I think the key thing I like to hammer home with people is consistency. Like consistency, it encompasses a couple of different things. Like your colors, what type of fonts you're using, what type of messaging you're bringing across, and your marketing materials, be that pull-up banners, or your website. So, like say with Task Art, you're quite consistent with your colors. Your you have the podcast, and that kind of ties in with what you're already doing with Task Art. Um, so your consistent. Whereas a lot of people, you might have a completely different logo on your Instagram and a different name on your Instagram page, and then someone goes to the website and it's completely different colors, and it's going to just lead to, trust issues with customers. The end user, at the end of the day, people are, they have to trust in you before they make a decision whether they want to go with your academy or whether they want to go with your service. Or, if I see a plumber and he's got, a different name on his van than he is on his website, like that to me, it just doesn't scream trust. So, um, that's one of the kind of things, and I think we touched on that quite early on with the TASQ website. Putting down, partners you might have worked with, because it builds trust with the end user, and if people see a name they recognize, or you see a testimonial from someone who they're giving their 2 cents on why you should go with the service. Um, so consistency definitely is one of the main things. It doesn't have to be overly complex. Like, you don't have to if you offer a couple of different services, you don't have to try and put every service and fit that into your logo. Um, so like my logo's quite simple. It's just a W and an M in a diamond shape. And the reason for that is because there's a double diamond method is one of the methodologies of design. So that was part of the reason why I went with that. Now I'm desperate when it comes to my own brand. I've changed my logo. I don't know how many times, changed the business name once or twice, but I've stuck with Woolly Mammoth for the last couple of years. So, um, and I think I'd be quite consistent in terms, like, I like having a bit of crack. I like having a laugh at myself. I'm not overly serious, and that comes across in my kind of brand messaging, I suppose. Um, with regards to pull-up banners and where you should put the contact details, usually usually people do it down the bottom, but I'd say you're probably better off doing it midway up. Just having like a little box or something with your contact details, whether that's a QR code or a link to your socials. And yeah, just try to be consistent with it, because it just makes it look more professional if it is,
Are there any are there any particular color combinations that should be avoided? I sometimes teach brand and marketing as an
Yeah,
associate lecturer in some other institutions, and one of the assignments is to do a poster to advertise a product or service, and sometimes you'd be seeing
yeah,
like yellow font text on a white background, and you'd be like, "Whoa, no one's going to be
yeah.
able to read
It
that,"
is.
where it was squinting, because obviously there's the difference, and this is where we see a lot of overlap when it comes towards comic preparation. Because when you design, a lot of people are doing web comics now and stuff. So when you design something on the screen, the light source is coming from behind, but when you go to print it, then there's the absorption rate of the ink on the paper of the canvas if you're using a pull-up banner, and then the light
Absolutely.
source is coming from out onto it. So for those who might be preparing, like they could be a comic book artist or designer. They could listen to today's episode and be like, I like the jib of Michael. I think I'll send them some stuff from the print for me. What would you say should be the color patterns to be avoided? Or is there any particular ones that you've, just in your experience, or maybe just from your own education, that you think, okay, try to avoid this particular combination if you're preparing something for print?
Actually, funny you should say that. I seen a sign yesterday, and it was hot pink on a dark green background.
Oof.
And it was pretty mad. But I don't. I think once the contrast is okay,
Hmm.
like color combinations, it just depends really what type of messaging you want to come across. Like, obviously your blues and yellows are more kind of trusting, or it's related to, banking or whatever. But I think once the contrast is okay, you're generally fine. And obviously if it's tied into an existing, say if it's, like the Phantom, for example, that's obviously going to use a lot of kind of lilac-y purple colors, kind of darker shades. You're obviously not going to start throwing in like crazy color combinations for that, because it has to be obviously tied to the actual story and the existing world that's there. Um, but I know obviously what you were saying there about absorption rates on paper and things like that. Like, a lot of people seem to disregard CMYK when they're printing because they might be designing an RGB or whatever. And that's obviously something to keep in mind, because like, it's gonna be a crisp dark black on the screen, but then when that goes to print, it's like a kind of washed out grey nearly. So I think obviously most comic book artists, I'm sure they're probably well aware, CMYK designing that first, maybe have a decent monitor that they can grade the color before it goes to print. I actually got a couple of nice little swatch books that are in CMYK because most printers don't really use Pantone because it's quite expensive, So you could have a lot of t-shirt companies would work into Pantone, but CMYK is kind of, the bread and butter of most kind of trade printers in Ireland now. So, um, or always has been like, but you can see the difference between there's a coated and an uncoated version that I have of the CMYK palette, and the difference between the two is massive. Like you know yourself when you send something to print, it looks nice, crisp, clear on the screen, and then you get it and it's like, what? Where the hell did that come from? Um, but yeah, no, I'd say color combinations once they're complementary, I think you're all right. And once the contrast is decent, like you were saying, don't put yellow on a white background because no one will be able to read it. Um, maybe as well if it's if it's a nice if you like own a nice hair salon or something like that, you're not gonna have something that looks like a warning symbol on your flyers, because that would probably turn people off. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I think once it suits the industry, and what if it's an existing IP or something like that, like the Phantom, keep it consistent with what's there already. This harken back to what I was saying, obviously about keeping consistency.
well, brilliant. And just going back to some of the print stuff, because you mentioned it there a moment ago about business cards. I was in a program review for an academic course, and I was trying to say, business cards are still a thing because everyone's like, oh, but you connect online, LinkedIn, smartphones, and I've seen people with the metal or plastic cards with QR codes you can scan, but sometimes I've
Yeah.
seen that backfire where it doesn't connect or it's awkward when you try to open up a LinkedIn to connect with someone. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure business cards are still going to be here to stay. The person on the panel was really anti, I'm like, I'm not saying like a million cards and show them letterboxes, but I mean, I think they're still here. What's your professional opinion on like business cards and flyers and stuff? Are they still relevant, or do you think it's gone the way of the dodo? What's your opinion on that?
No, I think they still are relevant. Like I every week nearly I'll have business card orders going out.
Mhm.
Um because like a lot of these say like the construction companies, that's all, networking, going to trade shows and things like that, and people will want your card, and people, like sales managers and sales reps and all that kind of thing, they'll be the main ones getting their business cards, throwing them into the reception in, whatever hardware place they're in, or if they're at trade show leaflets, probably not so much, because like I don't know about you, but if I get leaflets in the door, usually they're the first thing going in the bin. And it's kind of harder to it's harder to know what's kind of spam, what's not spam. Um, but
For
definitely
for the
business cards.
Yeah, no, business cards definitely for the academy we do those DL leaflets, but I've only ever kept them for convention tables in particular. And
Yeah,
I've only printed some there last November and I still have the same ones. I didn't print like a huge amount, but I'm like, it's good to have for the display.
absolutely. Yeah.
But then, as you're saying, if you have your QR code and your banner and stuff and all that and your business card, that's it. But then conventions is this strange phenomenon where everyone will pick up your business. They go around to collect like the free stickers, the cards, and all this. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I stopped putting out my business cards now just because there's always some kid collecting it. I'm like, what did he do with them? Like, just have like like collecting stamps maybe.
Well, I'm
Uh,
absolutely desperate. I have two boxes full of just business cards that I picked up over the last couple of years. I'm a devil for them. I love them. If I see a nice business card, I'll just pick it up. Be like, oh, I like that design. Um, but I think with the likes of the DL flyers, like you were saying, like the little DL leaflets, like they're perfect for what you're doing, because obviously you want to explain a bit about what you are. Obviously, your different offerings that you have, the different speakers you have, that kind of thing. Like it needs a bit more of an explainer than you wouldn't get that on a business card. So I definitely think for what you're at doing is perfect. But I'm just on about, like free free can of Coke with
Yeah.
pizza kind of leaflets. That's the type of thing that'd be going in the bin if I got it. But then I'd probably be hungry some night and be like, "Where's that leaflet with the free can of Coke?"
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember starting out, we were told you got to be careful with leaflets and stickers and stuff because if it ends up on the ground somewhere and it's in the local vicinity of where your business is, it's you who gets the fine for littering because it's kid traced
Yeah,
back to you. And it's like it is crazy, but little things like I remember like starting out, we started out with Line Strike Comics for us, but then a lot of people are like, well, you can't go around just like sticking up flyers and stickers everywhere. And you see people sometimes do a real kind of guerrilla graffiti effect to it, but it's like, no, that constitutes as littering and you'd be fined for it
that's
as well.
it.
So you got to go through all the channels. It's so yeah, that's what I always find when I'm teaching with students, it's later on, we find they have great ideas and then we kind of break their hearts a bit by going, well, here's why that's against the law, I'm afraid. But
Well,
like collecting
it
business,
is good to
go
be
ahead.
mindful of it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because there's other ways. I've seen the great one though with the sandblasting, where they clear, they do like a stencil and clear, and that fades, so they
Yeah,
can't do anything 'cause technically you're cleaning the ground. So it's like,
absolutely.
um,
Yeah, and that's genius, absolute genius. That's so it is.
yeah, yeah, no, that type of stuff's brilliant. And I'm like yourself, I have an actual file index for the business cards. I got it like years
I do.
ago. But
You?
yeah, yeah, but we actually did a class on it there towards the end of this semester. And the reason why is because we had some interesting ones like Mike Minola's and Alex Ross's, business cards. And some are like very, it's just a card, but like Alex Ross' business card is like, I don't know what he printed on, but it's like a square and it's like this thick and it almost feels like wood, whatever it is, but he has like this fine painting and then behind over the painting overlaid is like this cutout of his logo and you see it through like Black Adam, you see it through the cutout. I'm like, my
Ah, that's
God,
cool.
feel the money out.
That's primo now. That's a primo business card.
Yeah, I was like, good Lord, business has gone well for Alex Ross apparently.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
so to swing it over to, so that's a lot about like just the branding, the logos, the color combinations, pull-up banner positioning, and making sure that everything is like readable from a distance so that people can find your contact and such.
Yeah,
Let's
definitely
go to
scannable
the
now.
Let's go to the digital ecosystem then about websites and such. So, say I'm an up and coming comic book creator and I'm looking to really, make my presence known online. Now, social media is, of course, very important to cultivate and to build and have consistency in your posting and know when your appropriate posting time is. We had Sugata a few weeks ago come in on this podcast as well. People can go back and listen to it. We spoke about how to access the algorithm to know what's the appropriate time to post for your individual followers and such. But
Yeah.
the main thing in business is you want to take them off the social media directly to your platform, particularly if you're selling, because you want to make the sales directly as much as possible because it cuts down on the piece of the pie that you're giving away.
Mm.
But with regards to websites, particularly for, let's say, I just want to have my own online portfolio, and we've heard of many, many different editors, even Thomas Healy being the most recent on the podcast here from Image Comics from Todd McFarlane Productions. He was saying that, well, folks will, check out your social media, but then if you have a website, you can record, your most recent work and such. If I'm a comic book artist, what would you be recommending for an online portfolio for myself? I come to you and I'm like, I want to have a website where people can contact me, people can view my work. Obviously, the comic book artists are up and coming, so the budget's going to be, slim. So
Yeah.
that's the main thing. Let's just take that as a given. We're
Yeah.
not dealing with the
Yeah.
Alex Ross budget here, so we come back in.
There's
So,
no
so
wooden business cards here.
yeah, that's it. No, one of this is going to. So when you look at it, like, what would be your approach then? What would you be kind of advising them in how to present, or at least to consider in the presentation of their work? What would be your thoughts on that?
Well, I think just for obviously the industry that it's in, if you're, taking scans of your work or taking pictures of your work that's just high quality and it's good resolution imagery. Or if you're just pulling from, if you're digital comics or something like that, that it's people can either go in and view the whole thing or, you're putting up your top shots, so to speak, and keeping the work to your most recent. Like people don't want to go in and see, work that you might have done when you were 10 or 11 years old. they want to see obviously what you're capable of now. So definitely putting your best work first. Um, Making sure that you're taking into consideration, people that might be viewing it on mobile, so that it's usable for both people on their desktops or laptops and their mobiles. Um, I suppose platform is a big thing because if it comes down to cost, you want to know, well, like if I go with Framer, it's going to be X amount per month, or if I go with Squarespace, it's going to be this cost. Um, and then obviously, just the kind of time to product obviously is, you know, you want to go with the system that will get you online the quickest. Which like obviously we've touched on with Framer, you can have a free domain on that. Now it's limited with, pages and things like that, but you can do a site on it for free. So I suppose that's something that might be good to keep in mind if they're on a budget. Um, and I think, yeah, just making it, I suppose, like your online CV, essentially, like a visual CV. I suppose you could look at doing things like articles, like behind the scenes, what the rationale was for using these particular colors, or a bit behind the scenes of like if it's an original story or something like that, looking at your storyboards or I suppose your roadmap. Kind of, I like behind the scenes kind of things. People want to see the reason behind, why you're doing it, or why you went this direction. Um, so that shows, the thinking behind the design thinking behind these things. So I think that's really what employers would be looking for, is like the reasons why, as opposed to, the end product. Especially like in design, like I know it's a related field. They don't want to just see like a fancy mock-up of a website on a laptop. They want to know, well, like, why did he choose this route, or why did she choose this route? So yeah, I think they're just some considerations. Obviously, just probably condense it into 3 points. Pick your platform, um, pick your best work, and show your reasons why. I suppose three things there.
Great, I can use that as a clip now. We got a clip for the episode. We
There we
got the
go.
3 points. That's it. Great. There we go. We'll clip it.
I was just
Get ready. That's going to be a
frantically
reel.
Googling.
Yeah, like we're just gonna have we want to have that really professional clip to promote the episode, and then everyone's gonna listen to the episode and hear the craziness out. But no,
he's
that's
making this up as he goes
that
along.
no, that's brilliant. And like folks listening, just so that you're aware, Michael, I mentioned this at the top, but he taught here 2 semesters at TASK. He did an instruction we use. Framer is the one that we use for the TASK website, but obviously Wix is what we use for Light and Strike. And Michael's helped us with both websites. Less so with the Light and Strike one, but just from an operation behind the scene cookie stuff. But the TASK definitely all his, and that really was of great benefit to the students. I won't name names on air, but one of the students in particular asked me, I'll tell you off air, to pass on like how much, because at the end of our last class expressed how much that really helped him and how
Brilliant.
much benefit he got from it as well. So yeah, so it is great. And I think it's very empowering as well, because those listening, like many times, like a lot of you are artists, you want to make sure, particularly in this growing age of AI, a lot of the social media platforms you're using, uh, people are getting wary now about like consent and can they reproduce, and are you helping with machine learning? If you can help create and own as much of the platform and the actual website yourself and can secure your data and information, you could then, box some of your artwork, watermark it, and then people can visit the website to see the final or the process behind it as well. There's ways and means to get it across. So
Yeah.
it's an important conversation. I found that's come when designing task art and the curriculum. I was like, there definitely has to be something here about online portfolio and website and such as well. Anything on your end about like AI, any like pros, cons, or in the middle? Like, is there anything there
Um,
that people should be wary of? Or anything that you think, well, this may sound bad, but this could be of benefit?
um, I'm very much
Hmm.
anti AI for the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it does. I actually put up a post on my Instagram there a couple of months ago saying like something about it was like, do you remember those old anti-piracy ads that used to show up on
Yeah,
movies?
yeah.
It was like that, but it was just like you shouldn't use AI to make your logo. Um, like it definitely has its place. Like whether that's helping you write an email or helping you condense down the most important information on the CV or something like that. But I've seen umpteen posts lately of they all look the same. They're like leaflets for different events around Mead where I'm based. And like that's the problem when everything looks the same, there's no differentiator between that could be, Tom, Dick, or Harry, or what, like there's nothing unique about it. It's all pulling from the same source, and it just all looks the same. It's so apparent straight away that it's made with AI, and it just comes across as lazy. And again, going back to the trust thing, if I see a leaflet like that coming in the door, like not a chance. That's going in the bin. There's no human kind of touch point on it at all. And yeah, I've lost out on work because of AI. Um, I've had people come back and saying, "Oh no, sure, I can just do it myself and ChatGPT and that kind of thing." But what a lot of people don't seem to realize is if you use one of these LLMs or whatever to make a logo, you don't actually own it. It's not a tangible file. It's literally just an image. So if you brought that to a printer and say, I want this on my business card or I want this on my roll up banner, they'd be like, well, we're gonna have to redesign it because it's not. I can't go in and edit that file. It's just literally an image that ChatGPT or Claude is after spitting back. Um, and then they're going to have to pay the printer or the designer anyway to redesign it. Um, so yeah, no, I'd be very much in the anti camp. Just in terms of like stuff I've been kind of missing out on because of it. But it does have its place, but I just think there needs to be a lot more legislation around it and its usage.
Yeah.
Especially like IP and things like that. Like you've seen already. I think it's the Oscars or something like that came out and said that AI will never win
Golden
an
Globes,
Oscar.
I think it was.
Oh, Golden
I
Globes
think,
was it?
well,
Yeah.
yeah, oh no, actually, I could be mixing up because the Golden Globes recently outlined usage for AI. So I think they're going the other way. I don't know what's going on, but they were very specific about it. But it was funny there about the piracy video you on about, the ones before the movies, because my friend was saying this
Yeah.
to me the other day. We were watching an old DVD, and they were like, it turns out the music they used in it was in fact used without permission.
Ah, brilliant.
But those, I was like, so they themselves were the pirates all along. I was like, of
Yeah,
course. But no,
yeah.
no, that's amazing though about the points, and that's really a lot of food for consideration for people listening. As you were saying, like you don't actually own the asset, you don't have it in the correct format. These are things that are easily overlooked, and I think there's an old saying: if it's too good to be true, there's always some hidden cost
It
behind it,
is.
and sometimes the cost
Absolutely.
isn't that hidden. No, that's brilliant, Michael. And for folks listening, if they want to find out more and to be able to follow you online, like where would be the best channels to keep in touch and and of course your own website for Woolly Mammoth Design as well.
Yeah, so like I'm on Instagram, it's just Woolly Mammoth Design, WOOLLY Mammoth Design. And then Woolly Mammoth .ie is the website. I try to keep it up to date as I can. Um, but I'll probably be a bit more active on Instagram, even though like I'm not really posting. I'm terrible. I don't really follow my own advice when it comes to my own stuff. But be on there, and yeah, there's a TikTok, but it's never used, and I have a Facebook, but it's just taking the same post from my Instagram, so I don't really use Facebook. It's just mostly people giving out on it now. So.
How about LinkedIn? Do you use LinkedIn for much?
Oh yeah, I do. Use LinkedIn again, but it's mostly just cross posting the stuff that I put on Instagram. So but I'm on LinkedIn as well under my own name, Michael Donnelly. So, if anyone wants to connect with me there, be happy to give advice or whatever if they need.
Great. And is it are you charge is does the meter start charging as soon as they reach out to you? Are you happy to take
No,
the
no.
conversation first?
No, no, happy to take the conversation first. I usually any job I usually do like a 30-minute call, just like it's free of charge. It's just literally to see if, it seems like a good fit because, not everyone's going to be uh your cup of tea. So if it works both ways and we're both happy to work with each other, then I'm happy to proceed. And that's usually the way I do it. So it's just 30-minute kickoff call, see how things how the back and forth goes, and then we go from there. Really,
No, this is great. And like, thanks so much again, Michael, for taking the time to speak with me. I wanted to have this conversation on record. In fact, when I was just starting the podcast, I was actually saying to you, we must get you on sometime. So 2 years later, we made it, we made it possible.
there we go.
And yeah, but the thinking behind it is, like, I found this, like, I teach a lot of entrepreneurship modules as well. And usually I've been teaching like animation and game design students, and of course, comic book students. But you spend so long mastering the skills of those given fields that trying to monetize it to create a secure income or even just promote yourself, like you might not be interested in being self-employed, but you still have to have a venue for potential employers or contractors to contact and reach you. And there's
Mm,
a lot here, and I think there's a lot of burdens put on people, particularly the youth of today, where you're expected to do so much, and
mm,
it's very hard to have the downtime or to unwind, because then you're thinking, I really should be doing this. Oh, I should be checking this. And then, like, with your smartphone now giving you every notification, I think it's great to have this type of a conversation with a designer like yourself who can give a few salient points for people to consider. And then also that they'll be able to, know that they can reach out and that you don't have to be a master of everything, that they're, fully equipped, trained, and ready to go professionals to help guide you, not to take over. I've seen some really bad designers who try to start staying the project. Either the skill level is somewhat lacking or the experience, or they immediately kind of start hijacking or driving the vehicle in a direction you don't want it to go. But this type
yeah,
of
yeah.
a conversation, this is good. So I thought today's conversation was very valid to go onto the podcast. And like,
No,
full
thanks very
disclaimer,
much for
I'm
having
not.
me.
No, anytime, Michael. And like, full disclaimer for everyone, and not to try you under the bus, Michael, but like, folks are more than welcome, to not go with Michael as well or any design. It's just that this main element here was to like just talk about the importance of design and online. I can, of course, vouch for Michael because of the fine work he's done with Task Art. But I just wanted to reiterate to everyone listening or watching, like, and you probably echo this as well, Michael. It's not to be underestimated. Like, good design will sometimes go unnoticed because it's very, seamless in how it just operates. People just know what they're looking for. But bad design
Yeah,
can be very noticeable and leave a negative impact. So,
absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
so these are the points. So no, thanks a million, Michael, and for everyone listening, that's Woolly Mammoth
Thanks a million.
Design to be able to check out. And yeah, hopefully, you never know, we might do a follow up in this sometime in the future as well to see what's happening as well.
Deadly.
And
No,
yeah,
I'd love to.
again, Woolly Mammoth Design. Thanks a million, Michael.
Thanks a million, Owen. Thanks, everyone.